This will be the continuation of trade and supporting services. I have given you an introduction about trade and the relationship between businesses, trade and the supporting services. Then we have moved on to the categories of trade. Under that, today we have already looked into the retail trade, and today we'll be moving on to the wholesale trade. As characteristics of retail trade, we'll see what the characteristics of wholesale trade as well. So the first one will be the purpose or the objective wise. First character comprises like this: purchasing goods for the purpose of reselling. Purchasing goods for the purpose of reselling. Under retail, we have purchase goods for the final consumption. So the wholesale trade, the person who's carrying out the wholesale trade will be known as the wholesale trader or the wholesaler. Right. So then always the purchasing will be done by another kind of a seller, most probably the retailers, for further selling purposes. In retail trade, the purchasing will be done 100% by the consumers themselves. Second one, often selling large quantities of goods in one transaction. Unlike in the retail trade, when you are doing the wholesale trade, the wholesalers, they will sell large quantities of goods, normally dozens, quantity-wise, lot of goods will be sold in dozens, kilograms, in sacks, liters, gallons, barrels, cartons, like that. Okay. So here you have a few selected items. Now, as I told you earlier, in retail shops, they spend a lot of money for advertising purposes. That is to attract the consumers towards themselves. But when it comes to wholesale trade, they are not paying much attention towards this advertising, because the person who needs the good will directly come in search of the wholesale trader. Now there are wholesale shops who are selling the consumer items. So there you will be able to see only the consumer items. Some shops, some wholesale trade shops will be selling only the construction items like cement, sand, paint, bricks, all the stuffs, iron bars, stuffs like that. So when it comes to another wholesale trader will be selling only the pharmaceutical items. So there you can find only medicine. Like that, only one type of goods or few selected items will be selling when it comes to the wholesale trade. Thereby, the unit selling price is relatively low. Again, when it comes to retail trade, for advertising, lighting purposes, decorating purposes, in order to attract to get the attention of the consumer, they have to spend a lot. Thereby, that expenses or the costs of the business will also be incurred and covered from the per unit price by the retailer, and at that time the selling price of a unit will be high. Comparatively, when it comes to the wholesale trade, the unit selling price is low because they don't have to promote anything, no promotion, no advertising. They don't have to worry about the decorating purposes, nothing. So thereby they can sell the good at the lowest possible cost. When it comes to the Next characteristic, providing trade discounts can be vastly seen when it comes to wholesale trade. That means reducing a certain percentage from the listed price of goods in a sale is known as trade discounts. If you can remember in grade 10, when you are doing the discounts after the cash book, you have learned two types of discounts, cash discounts and trade discounts. Under the cash book, you all have learned about the cash discounts. At the time of settling debtors and creditors, we will be considering about the cash discounts. So this is the place where we are focusing our attention toward the trade discounts. At the time of selling goods, from the total price or from the listed price, a percentage will be reduced, and that will be the trade discount. So when it comes to retail trade, you don't find trade discounts, but when it comes to wholesale trade, most of the time they will be providing, the wholesalers will be providing trade discounts to the consumers. Okay, now we can get a proper idea about these two types of trading when we are trying to differentiate the two types of trade. Let's see what they are. So as I told you, these are the features of, these are the differences between retail trade and the wholesale trade. Before going to that, we'll move on to the next slide as well. So here we will see the importance of retail trade. So retail trade is, before we are going to compare the two, to identify the differences, this will give you a much better idea about the retail trade. Okay, at the exam also you will be tested most of the time with regard to retail trade. So in order to differentiate, you must know what the retail trade is very, very well. Okay, so thereby I want to pay your attention towards this as well. So retail trade is important as it provides the following services. The first one will be providing goods and services to consumers to fulfill their daily needs and wants. Now, as we have learned already, retail shops will be in your local vicinity, and they will most of the time provide you the consumer goods and services which we need in our day-to-day basis. From the morning you get out of the bed and until you go to bed at night, how many number of goods and services are we using? So most of these goods and services have been obtained under the retail trade. So then retail trade is very, very important to fulfill the daily needs and wants of the consumers. Then introduction of new goods to consumers or introducing new goods to consumers will be done through retail trade, not through the wholesale trade. So because the consumers will come to the retail shops with an intention of buying goods for their final consumption. So at that time, from the questions that they are asking from the retailer, the retailers or the retail traders will get a very good understanding and a good impression about the consumer's needs and wants and the way the wants are changing. When the same person comes the next time, what type of product do they expect out of the producer? All these things and the better understanding of the consumer will be going to the businesses when they are trying to innovate their products from the retail trade. So then one importance of retail trade is to identify the changing wants and thereby to introduce new goods to consumers. Now, as an example, when we were small, we didn't come across this sachet concept. That means the small quantity concept. Biscuits, milk powder, shampoo, sauce, butter, soap, almost everything. Now, hair gel, everything you can buy now in small quantities, which is known as sachet packets. Earlier, it was not like that. They don't have this sachet packets. With the now all over the world, the income, especially in the developing countries, most of the consumers are earning their income on daily basis, a large percentage. So thereby they had their purchasing power, or they have the ability of buying goods and services on day-to-day basis based on the amount that they are receiving. Based their daily income, they will buy the goods and services. So at that time, the things which they will consume for a day or a week will be demanded by the consumers. So at that time, giving the product or supplying the product as required by the consumer at required times in the required quantities of them will be a feature of retail trade, and by using that they have introduced this sachet concept, small packets or small quantity concept to the consumers at present. Earlier, if you want to buy a sauce, it has to be in the standard bottles that is available. There will be some standard bottle size. So you have to buy that. If you want sauce, you have to buy that. Again, when it comes to a good example is the soft drink bottles. Now, if you want to buy in large quantities, if you are a capable consumer, you have 1 liter or 1.5 liter bottles. So if you are a low income person, you can go for this buddy bottles. And when about 10-15 years back, you have only the standard size of 300 milliliter or 400 milliliter standard bottle. If you want to taste that soft drink, if you want to quench your thirst, you have to go for that. If you want to drink more, you have to buy 2-3 bottles of the same type and satisfy your need. Now, or if you want lesser amount for your consumption, you have to keep you can consume the amount that you like, and you have to keep the rest of the drink with you to consume later. But now it's not like that. When you go to the retail shops, you will be able to get them in this different quantities. So that is a new introduction by the businesses. Then providing goods on credit at times. If the consumer is not capable of buying the good then and there by paying money, they will give them in credit terms as well. Credit facilities available. Credit cards can be used, or later you can pay them in any other form. So that is also possible when it comes to retail trade. But the next importance will be supporting to improve the quality of goods by informing consumer feedback to producers. As I told you earlier, there's a direct, very good relationship between the retail trader and the consumer. So thereby the producer will get a lot of information, or the feedback will be given by the retail trader about the consumer to the producer about the improvements of the good or the service that they are going to give to the consumers. Then the differences. There are different types of retail trade. We'll see what they are as well in the next lesson. Thank you.